Hi everyone, welcome back to the studio vlog. This month's studio vlog is a little different. I'm going to be taking you along on just some things that I found inspiring and that I found joy in this month. So at the very beginning here, I'm just planning out my work week. Even though I'm not showing much work in this vlog, it's more along the lines of just fun things that I got to do with the family and the kids, and that I just was basically trying to do and get outside for, to try to enjoy bits of summer where I could. I worked on some really interesting classes and tutorials this month, and this next clip is of me sharing some insights that I got on a recent trip to find some inspiration for the kids book that I'm working on. And it's a fun little story time and something that I don't know if other people in my age bracket can relate to, but when you run into teachers as an adult, it's always a fun and interesting experience. The sandals here, the little chancletas, we call them chanclas. If you've ever watched Mitsuwa on YouTube or on Instagram, there's always like the skit or stories about the abuelas like hitting you with the chancla or throwing the chancla at you when you get in trouble. Like, my grandma didn't beat us, but like there was threats with the chancleta and if we were not behaving. So I'm just doing like really basic slippers, and again, like, I'm not making this uber realistic. I have a bit of realism to it, but not really. I like that kind of cartoony style of book. And actually, speaking of books, I was just pulling inspiration when I go to bookstores whenever I can. I stopped by a bookstore called Harvey's Tales recently, and I walk into this bookstore while I'm waiting for my kid to finish music lesson. But what is wild is, as I'm browsing this bookstore and I find books that I want and I'm absolutely enamored by this bookstore, I'll drop in some clips as I'm talking here. Just the cutest little bookstore and cafe. I go to checkout, and the gentleman at the checkout area at the cash register, he like comments on the book like, "Oh, everyone loves the Paletero Man." And I was like, yeah, I grew up in Chicago, and it was, you know, I'm Hispanic, so it's like something that like totally struck a chord with me. And he's like, yeah, I used to be a teacher at one of the at a school that was, you know, predominantly Hispanic. And I was like, really? And mind you, as I'm checking out, this gentleman looks really, really familiar to me for some reason. I was like, why do you look so familiar? He goes, yeah, at this middle school. He names this specific middle school, and I'm like, wait a minute. I know I recognize you. And he's like, yeah, I was a 7th grade science teacher. And I'm like, Mr. Osborne. This was my middle school 7th grade science teacher. Completely blown my mind. I haven't seen this person in like 22 years. That's how old I am, guys. So he's like, yeah, I stopped teaching 4 years ago, and I bought a building, and I opened a bookstore. It was the coolest thing ever. I was like, you were my 7th grade science teacher 22 years ago. And yeah, so it was fun. We added each other on Facebook, and his bookshop is the absolute most adorable place ever. Such a cool vibe, such creative, fun things. It's not just books, there's gifts, a cafe. But I picked up this book called Paletero Man, and it's by the Latin Grammy winner Lucky Diaz, who's part of like, him and his wife are part of this like kids music group. It's super cute, really fun. There's a song that goes with it, and it's illustrated by Micah Player. And I try to grab, I know, like, I have kids. Obviously, these books get read by my kids, but oftentimes, more than not, I just love picture books, and this is mine. So I grabbed this for me, really, and I just love the art style, and it's just like, I think Micah does a beautiful job of, like, creating things in this fun kind of cartoonish way, but still gives a semblance of a little bit of realism. And that's kind of like how I feel like my art is, in a way. I know there's a lot of artists that do that. But it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to have everything in proportion. I just wanted to kind of feel like what an abuela would look like, specifically what my abuela might look like. So it's okay if like toes don't look perfect, hands don't look perfect. I'm just having fun with sketching these things out. I don't want it to be perfect to start with. I'm going to obviously refine, but actually just getting the shapes out there, getting the concept out, that's what I really want to focus on. And then I can go back in and revise and refine and, you know, make the anatomy closer to what it needs to be, or not, because this is art and art is meant to be interpreted, and you don't have to have it be perfect in terms of anatomy. Some of the most fun, you know, animated movies and some of the most fun illustrated books, they aren't in perfect proportions and with perfect anatomy. It's about stylizing. So that's what I'm trying to do here.
So the rest of this week was all about kind of exploring things outdoors, trying to get out of the house because I've been cooped up for a lot of this last month, working on projects for work. One of my favorite places to go is a grocery store called Mitsuwa. It's an Asian market. They have all kinds of fantastic foods, treats. I really enjoy going there. It's kind of a drive for us, but it's a fun place. And one of the great things about it is the bookstore that is also there. So we made it a point to kind of just explore the foods, hit the awesome bakery that they have, grab some snacks. They also have food court. I think this day we might have gotten ramen, but I probably ate so fast that I didn't get any footage. We grabbed some sushi on the way out, and we stopped at the bookstore where I ended up grabbing some books for myself and for my daughter. And then closer to the weekend, actually I think this might have been the Saturday after, late June, we are in here, and there was a Kite Festival. We had been to this Kite Festival obviously in the last 2 summers because of COVID. It was socially distanced, there wasn't very many people, and people were very widely spread out, but we had the opportunity to fly some kites, and check out some of the amazing kites from the vendors that were there. They have these giant squid looking, octopus looking kites that I just thought were the neatest thing. And I don't have sound in these videos, but I was squealing at how cool they looked. And Sophia flew her lovely little Tinkerbell kite that her grandpa had got her. The last time we went to this was the year before grandpa passed away, and it was just a nice kind of time to commemorate and a fun memory for her to think back on. Then Dwight and I have been trying to make it a point to have little dates on Sundays, and this is just some footage from us walking around. We were walking around our local downtown area, just enjoying the green space, taking some time for ourselves, and I was just looking for inspiration that I could find in just our mundane, everyday kind of time in life. So photos, flowers, the green space, checking out our river walk, things like that. These are all things that I can pull from for inspiration for my artwork in the future, surface pattern design, illustration work, things like that. We just have a really lovely historical district in our area, and it's fun to kind of just walk around, and a lot of the houses have a lot of character. They're really old, 200 plus years old, and there's this one house that has a huge rooster on its entryway, which is super fun. So I wanted to catch that. And then we stopped by a new cafe in our area. I like this cafe just because it has kind of a bit of a Parisian vibe, but they have really yummy teas, coffees, treats, and also they showcase artwork from local artists in our area from our local art league. Then for dinner, we ended up hitting a fusion taco spot in our area called Seoul Taco, and it has the most fun vibe to it. I really like the overall style of the decor, and the food is bomb. I had kimchi nachos, which I've never had before, and they were so tasty. absolutely must try. If you have a Seoul Taco in your area, hit it up. Totally worth it. And it's just like a fun, creative space. I really like the boom boxes and just the fun, bright colors, and the street, like, kind of like the street style vibes that you get from the restaurant. So we celebrated 4th of July in a non-traditional way. Instead of having your regular old barbecue cookout in the yard, we ended up going to a new Japanese barbecue restaurant in our area, and we hadn't been there before, and we were pleasantly surprised. The food was fantastic. I just love the style of communal eating where we're all together sharing and using the grill. We have a grill that we use at home, and a lot of the times we tend to do like Korean style barbecue, but this was a really fun version of this, and Sophia had a blast. It was just a fun time, and I didn't have to worry about cleaning up afterwards, so it was great. And our dessert, they ended up giving us s'mores, which was awesome. And we just kind of finished the afternoon walking around, and we stopped by the really pretty fountain in our downtown area. And yeah, so our 4th of July was really low key.
I wanted to take some time to kind of check in. Last month I worked on my latest Skillshare class all about surface pattern design, but using Affinity Designer on your iPad, and taking the class that I did the prior month in June and kind of breaking it down for use on the iPad. It's really nice that with Affinity you can go from like the desktop to the iPad. It's just that the interface on the iPad is a little different, so it can be tricky, like taking my Affinity Designer class for the desktop and then trying to apply those concepts to the iPad version. So what I did was just break down 2 of the concepts when it came to like creating half drop patterns and then full drop patterns, but in like a rectangle format. I broke those down for the Affinity Designer app on the iPad, and that was the class that I worked on this past month. I just launched it. This last month has been like, we're slowly kind of getting back to normal. Like things are opening up. I'm still I'm just like, I'm gonna wear my mask until I feel comfortable. But people in our area, like, we've been told we don't have to wear masks if you're vaccinated. I'm still wearing my mask even though I'm vaccinated. I think it's just a matter of like fear, and I'm just slowly trying to like overcome that. And so it's interesting to see how everything is just kind of like starting to feel a little normal, but then I watch the news and I hear about, you know, other countries going back on lockdown, and it's just, I don't know, I feel like we're in strange and interesting times. But I've slowly been trying to go out and do like little things that are relatively safe, whether it's going to like the bookstore over by Mitsuwa, which is a really great bookstore, and Mitsuwa is like our Asian market, and they have like really cool anime and manga and just some really interesting international books. So going to places like that for inspiration, trying to go to, you know, interesting places to eat every now and then, which I still don't do much because I still prefer to be home and cook at home. But yeah, just we're slowly trying to like find a way to find a new normal. It's just, you know, work. I've been working. This summer I still teach. Obviously I have like my Skillshare classes, but then I teach at the university. We don't have a break. I don't get a summer break. I have classes that I do over the summer. So we just finished the end of the term a week ago, and then at the same week the new term started, so I haven't really had a break. But I'm trying to take it easy throughout the week, being flexible with my work hours, especially with the kids and around their activities, whether it be like music camp or volleyball camp, and just, you know, trying to be okay if I have to stop in the middle of the day, pick up in the evening where I need to, or take some time during, like, take a day where, you know, it's just me and the kids doing something, whether we're gonna go do something or just hang out at home, so that I don't feel so overwhelmed like I had been the last few months. I've just been trying to go, and I feel like this is a repetitive theme in my vlogs. It's just trying to like be okay with just doing what I need to do and not feeling bad if I don't check mark 10 things off a list. So that's pretty much what I've been up to. And my class, obviously, I'll link that in the description box below and in the little card flag up top. And then today, the reason why I'm vlogging is because I have all of the equipment out because I am filming a tutorial for you guys. The tutorial is probably already live. This video will probably go up towards the end of the month. But it is about how to make stickers on the Silhouette portrait. And I have a Cricut machine, and in the past that's what I've used in the past. I even have a Skillshare class on how to make like planner stickers with your Cricut. But this month I wanted to do something over here on YouTube and using the Silhouette, because I got that a few months ago because there's all this crazy stuff going on with Cricut. I know I talked about it in a vlog before. So I ended up purchasing a portrait just because I see it as content that I can use like for a tutorial, and it's another, you know, piece of hardware and software that I think will be beneficial for me to learn so that I can share with you all and do a tutorial like I'm doing now. And because it's just nice to have an additional cutter. And then the other thing is that I noticed, like when I was looking at reviews, Silhouette tends to have better cutting. My Cricut is a hot mess half the time. I have to recalibrate it. I have to cut the same thing over and over again. I waste a lot of paper in order for me to get nice clean cuts that aren't like offset. And I don't know if it's just the Cricut like software. And I know this is a big thing for a lot of people. Like Cricut cutting is not always like dead on, spot on. It has a tendency to be offset, and then you have to like fiddle with it, and then you'll get it to cut right. But that's after like trying to cut 10 things, and then it's, you know, you wasted all that paper. Since I got the portrait, knock on wood, I haven't had that issue. Like it was a little bit of a learning curve to try to like learn it. But once I figured it out, I was like, I don't have as many like errors. I don't have, you know, it doesn't cut offset for me. It will work the first time around. Half the time my Cricut doesn't want to cut like glossy paper. It is really finicky about the type of materials that I use on it. Whereas this, it cuts right away. Like at first I thought like it wasn't working because I couldn't get it to cut, and then I realized it's because I messed up the placement of like the marker guides, because you can like work on those. And once I fix that, then I'm able to cut, you know, on this machine all the time the first time, and it's always like exactly where my cut lines are. So haven't had any issues. I'm really pleased with it. I end up cutting more on the portrait than I end up cutting up my Cricut Explore Air, which was a little bit more expensive. But I have them both. And if I get, you know, large orders, it'll be easier to have two things going versus just one. But overall, I'm very happy. There's my little review of my purchase of the portrait. And then we just got to figure out like the rest of the day. I've been trying to like read. I read like 5 books this month, which is really great. I think that's the thing I like to do the most in the summer, is make time to read. So I read like Joy Luck Club. I read the book that's based on The Conjuring. That was a little terrifying. I'm reading lots of spooky things. I don't know. You'd think I'd be reading that during Halloween. The Mothman Prophecies. And then I read 2 other books that I totally forgot what they were because I returned them to the library already. But yeah, that is it for my check-in, and I will see you all later. The filming aftermath. I made a big mess. Yes, my printer's over there because I love this printer, but the wireless settings are not working for me, so it's connected. And yeah, now it's time to clean up.
What are you doing?
So the same day that I ended up filming for the silhouette tutorial, I had some orders to pack, so I just wanted to slip in some fun packing ASMR for y'all to enjoy. Thank you. So I'm closing out this month with a fun little trip that we had to Chicago. The girls ended up going to this amazing camp called Girls Rock. It is fantastic. If you're in the Chicagoland area, I highly suggest you check it out. But they had like a pre-camp barbecue, and we dropped them off for a couple of hours, and Dwight and I just kind of wandered around the city to kill time. And it was just fun walking around my old stomping grounds. I grew up in the city. I went to college in downtown, and a lot of this area, like Michigan Avenue, these are places I walked constantly while I was in school when I was younger, and also older as an adult. I used to teach at Columbia College, so we were just walking around to kill some time. And once we picked up the girls, we decided to head down to Seafood City, and it was kind of like a Filipino kind of food rest of the day. That weekend we stopped by Max's, which is a fantastic Filipino restaurant, and then we made sure to stop and grab some Jollibee to go. So I feel like a lot of this vlog is very much food centered, and that's one of the things that brings our family joy, and that's kind of one of the really great things. I feel like food can inspire you creatively, and I love pulling visual and creative inspiration from restaurants that we visit. And this last restaurant we ended up going to this month was a ramen restaurant, and we just enjoyed some really nice house ramen noodles and some really yummy chicken buns and things like that. So this was just a fun overall food and outdoorsy kind of related vlog. There's bits and pieces of work, but I think I really tried to find ways to find joy in small regular things in my everyday life. So that's it for this month. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, definitely subscribe to this awesome creative community that we have growing here, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.